Mankind versus The Undertaker. Where does it rank among the best Hell in a Cell matches? Coming up next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. After this Sunday, there will be 40 Hell in a Cell matches in WWE history. The one that gets the most recognition is the one that happened third in its history, and that's Mankind versus The Undertaker at King of the Ring 1998. Obviously, one of the most infamous spots, maybe the most infamous spot in wrestling history, when Mick Foley was thrown off the top of the Hell in a Cell through a table, and Jim Ross with the call that he's got to be dead. He got to be dead. Where does this rank among the best Hell in a Cell matches?
Well, I would definitely say it's probably within the top 10. And you and I were talking about this a little while ago, and I don't think it necessarily is a match that's known just for its, in-ring ability. It's not necessarily a great match. It's more so known because of the big spots that were in it when Mick Foley was, one, thrown off the top of the cell, and then two, when he was chokeslammed through the cell after he came back after having his tooth knocked out, and I think he actually dislocated his shoulder.
Yep.
Those two spots, like you said, definitely two spots that are always going to be remembered throughout wrestling history, and two of the biggest spots that people always think about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of people put this up there as one of the best matches. It's definitely the most infamous. But as far as in-ring performance, and you talk about some of the best Hell in a Cell matches, there have been some good ones. I have to admit, this match here is not even the best for The Undertaker or Mankind or Mick Foley, whatever you want to call him. They've had much better Hell in a Cell matches. I mean, The Undertaker has been in 14 Hell in a Cell matches. And I could name at least two that are better than this match at Hell in a Cell. The first one that comes to mind, which I think a lot of people will regard as the best of all time, and that's Triple H versus The Undertaker, the end of an era match at WrestleMania, which now apparently is not the end of an era because now we have the match coming up at Super Showdown.
The era is back.
The era is back. I don't know what era it is, but apparently it's back. See, in Australia, they want that era. In Saudi Arabia, they want 1995 in your house stuff because they want Yokozuna. They want the Ultimate Warrior.
I take back what I said in our previous segment. The only thing that I've really been compelled by is the build to Triple H versus The Undertaker. If they could put that much time and investment into building all of their matches the way they're putting the time and investment into building that match, the show would be much better off. I'm actually kind of excited for that match now.
I mean, the build has been great, but I don't know if they can actually have a decent match the way The Undertaker has been looking. But who knows? Maybe he's emptying the tank in this match, and he will have one good last match. But the other Undertaker match that I think is a good Hell in a Cell match that is better is No Mercy between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. Right. I was just watching this match a couple nights ago. I was having trouble falling asleep, so I put on the WWE Network, and they have the Hell in a Cell match collection. And this one came on, and this one was so good. So good. I think this one might be a top 3 Hell in a Cell match.
This was the match where Undertaker had the cast on?
Yes.
Okay, yep. This was a very good match. Yeah, like you said, Undertaker is really synonymous with Hell in a Cell, especially being one of the people that first contended in the Hell in a Cell match. HBK versus Undertaker, so that's always going to be one that comes to mind, especially because that's where Kane made his debut, I believe.
Yes, yep.
So that was also another epic moment where the whole place went red. Kane came out, ripped the door off the Hell in a Cell, came into the ring. Another epic moment, so that's another match that definitely has to be mentioned when talking about Hell in a Cell.
Yes, I mean, so that's 3 matches that The Undertaker's had in Hell in a Cell that are better than Undertaker versus Mankind.
Yeah, I would think so.
So, I mean, I'm going to name even a fourth one. The 6-pack challenge. The Undertaker was in that because he threw Rikishi off the top of the cell into the truck. I just watched that one. Another great Hell in a Cell match.
Also had some really good Hell in a Cell matches against Batista, to be honest with you.
Yep. I was actually looking at a couple of...
Those probably get overlooked a little more than they should, but if you go back and watch those were pretty good matches as well.
I was actually looking at a couple of top 10 matches before this podcast, and a lot of them actually put Batista versus Undertaker and Batista versus Triple H. And the one that he had with Triple H, they were saying that this solidified him as a main eventer.
Yeah, that was something that was said. One of the matches that I like, one of the Hell in a Cell matches that I like most is actually Cactus Jack versus Triple H for the same reason.
I was going to say that.
Awesome spot. I think after the spot where Mick Foley was thrown off the top of the cell, which we were talking about, and then chokeslam through, they had to kind of figure out a way where the fans would still, at the expense of Mick Foley, be satisfied. So he had to get thrown through the cell again, but I'm sure that the ring breaking was more staged and planned than anything else, but it still made for a really cool spot. And not only that, the match was actually well wrestled, so it was very good on all ends.
And not only that, it was right down the street from our house in Hartford, Connecticut. So, I was going to say the same thing. That Triple H Mankind or Cactus Jack match, which was supposed to be Foley's retirement match, although he ended up being in the Fatal 4-Way at WrestleMania 2000 that year. But that's another great Hell in a Cell match. We talked about Michaels. We talked about The Undertaker there. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks for the first women's Hell in a Cell match. It's a decent one for the first one. I don't know if it ranks among the best. But as far as Mankind versus The Undertaker, I think we just named at least 7 that are better. At least.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely just because of the moment, like we talked about, where Mick Foley was thrown off the top of the cage, and it's always going to be remembered for that.
Let me ask you a question. If Jim Ross is not commentating, say it's Michael Cole or Tony Schiavone or Mike Tenay, someone that is far inferior to Jim Ross, is this the most famous wrestling spot in history?
Oof. If he's not...
If Jim Ross is not calling the match.
Even if he is or isn't, I still don't think it's the most famous wrestling spot. Now, are you saying spot as in, something that happens during a match?
Yes.
That's tough. I would say that having Jim Ross in any match... Having Jim Ross commentate any match, especially if it was during the Attitude Era where he was really at his A game, is going to do the match itself a big favor, because he was at the time the best in the business, and he's probably to go down as one of the best commentators of all time. The best spot in a match, I don't know. That's tough. I'd have to think about that. It's definitely one of the most memorable. I don't know if it's the best spot, though.
Maybe we'll have to table this for next week's podcast. The best spots in wrestling. That's tough. I'm trying to think of some that can even compare to that spot. And it's just so hard, not only because of the impact that Mankind took in those 2 spots in Hell in a Cell, but the way that Jim Ross called it. You thought he was dead. And the way that
I don't think Jim Ross was kidding when he said that either. He was probably more serious than anything else.
Right. And when you see that the Hell in a Cell is going up, that match is over. And he found a way to get in there. And I don't know if you listened to the Something to Wrestle With, where they were talking about this match. this was how it was supposed to be planned in a lot of regards. Like, Mick Foley sold that to where he was dead, and all he got was a separated shoulder. I mean, yes, a lot of the injuries that he sustained, he's still feeling today. And now they're saying that he might take a big bump in the Roman Reigns Strowman match, but he's not
inadvertently speared through a table or something. That guy, I don't see him taking any major bumps.
He's not even cleared to. So I don't see why this could happen. I don't understand that, but at the end of the day, if you had to pick a number out of the 40 Hell in a Cell, well, I'll say 38 Hell in a Cell matches, where does this one rank? If you had to give it a solid number.
Solid number, I'd say it was probably because we went over 7, I'd probably agree that the 7 we went over are better. I would say it's probably within a solid 10, probably 10 on the list. And that's being generous. It might even be 15, but I'll go with 10. And I'm going to say my favorite Hell in a Cell match is going to be the one from WrestleMania that we talked about with Undertaker and Triple H, because the build to it, the significance of it, the way that it's actually carrying over to, the way how it's still relevant today, and how it's going to carry over to what looks to be their final match, the true end of an era.
Right.
So that would be my favorite Hell in a Cell.
My favorite Hell in a Cell match is probably either that, Cactus Jack versus Triple H, or the 6-pack challenge. Right. Although after watching Lesnar versus Undertaker again, that one has a strong way to contest it. So what do you think? What do you think is the best Hell in a Cell match? Give us a tweet, post us on Instagram, on Facebook, use the hashtag SCPB Podcast. And of course, you could comment below, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell so that we can notify you when our videos are up. Ralph, Hell in a Cell this Sunday. It's going to be a fun one, right? Let's hope.
So.
Let's hope that the two...
Better than All In.
No, but SummerSlam was. That was our Swerve Me Wrong last week. You can watch that video too. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti. Thank you for watching and listening to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Swerve Me Wrong. SummerSlam was better than All In. Click the video on the screen now to see how Michael tried to convince Ralph that SummerSlam was better than All In. Of course, click the logo to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and follow us all over social media at SCPB Podcast.